Интро. Все? Все?
Let me do a little bit of the introduction. My name is Andrei Tikhonov. I'm from Kaspersky Lab, also representing the association Trusted Platform. Here we come together with Жиль Бернабу, the technical director of the GlobalPlatform, the international consortium which represents the standards of trust and security for the digital services space. So I think most of you might have heard about the standards for the smart cards, SIM cards. This is where it all started, and other range of standards that they possess is about the trusted execution environment, secure element, trusted platform services, and the most recently the device trust architecture. In essence, this is about how do you have the root of trust, how you cascade it and make sure that device translates to the overall device, and then to the service overall. So this is especially relevant to the digital services, for instance, iPhone, which is in itself a part of the service, which is called the iCloud or App Store and things like this. So this is to make sure that the device is properly connected, safely connected, and trustworthily connected to the service, and properly operated from there. Now, another part of this is, for instance, the different scenarios that are played around this such type of activity. For instance, Apple Pay or Samsung Pay, whatever this is, that allow to operate pay without in a way that cannot be easily compromised, even by the end user himself. I think you also heard about the DRM. So these are the examples where the technologies and standards which are brought up by GlobalPlatform come into play. GlobalPlatform is working with the leading industrial consortiums such as GSMA, 3GPP, CCC, IIC, and the like, on spreading the standards along different types of use cases. Жиль will talk about this, I believe, in more details. And also, GlobalPlatform has found different initiatives across the globe in different countries to harmonize the international standard with the local realities and the requirements of the local regulators. And this is exactly what we are doing together. So hereby I pass the lead to Жиль, and he will
First, let's
self-introduce.
Андрей Колесников, директор Ассоциации интернета вещей. Можно по-русски?
Оператор Лорван. Константин Феоктистов, специалист по безопасности МТС.
Руководитель направления беспроводных технологий GSM Partners Consulting.
Вячеслав Золотников, лаборатория Касперского, внешний интерфейс организации к крупным ассоциациям, сообществам по стандартизации и разным другим интересным организациям.
Я также представлю Сергея Королькова и Эльмира Аликберова. Это наши коллеги по доверенной платформе.
So yes, I'm Жиль Бернабу. I'm coming from France, and I'm very happy to be there and to take a few minutes of your time. So I'm here to represent GlobalPlatform. I'm the technical director. So my role is twofold. One role is internally to verify that the IP policy, the strategy, it's applied by all the groups. And the second part is to be here to represent the organization and to represent all the members to try to create new links and new opportunities for our community. So I have some slides just to, can you go to the next one? So this is how we view the market. The market there is plenty of way to say that, but the market exploding, right? And this brings a lot of course, opportunities, but of course, a lot of threat. Typically, I'm talking more and more with newcomer that are more on the device world, and they don't have the knowledge that we have on the security. And this is what we face on the market. People want to access to more and more digital services, but today the level of security of the devices may not be as we want to be, right? So there is some additional part, of course, all the attacks I do not want, but there is more and more privacy requirements, either by the people, either by the government, that are raising the need to be better controlled objects. And there is also the fact that there is more and more cyber attacks that can be, to start with, just for fun, but that can be very critical. So typically in the IoT space, if you have just a sensor and the sensor is attacked, it's not so big issue. But if you have an actuator which is able to do something, typically an elevator, and you decide to go from the top level to the down level, that's an issue. And today we face that. So the community of GlobalPlatform is really to try to create a state-of-the-art technology and to help this to be deployed all over the markets and all over the geographies. Next one, please. So I'm representing here around 100 companies from all over the world, and there is experts that are here. We are doing a lot of meetings, a lot of solutions. We are structured into different groups, technical groups or more market-oriented groups. I'm working a lot with different partners, and I would like to go more in detail about that. So if you can go to the next one. You will see here all our members. So the technology is created by members. It's not created by me, right? There is this 1,000 experts. You see that we have all the flow from the chipset makers to the trusted OS makers to the service provider makers to the big players, okay? And we see that also you have people from Asia, people from Europe, people from US. The last point, you will see that Kaspersky is in the middle. Kaspersky joined the organization last year, and it helps me a lot to engage with the Russian ecosystem. We have also a lot of laboratories that are joining, because everybody understands that security is good, but having a certified product is better, right? So now you will see that there is a lot of product here. I have a lot of regulators that are either in this slide as a member. Typically, you will see yes, some Chinese regulator. You will see that the DOD is there. But we have also a lot of relationship with regulator in my next slide. Voila. So my role is really to talk with many organizations. Why? We are really working on the platform, and we want to be sure that this platform can be used in different environments. So we start by government and banks many years ago, but we have extended that, and now we are talking with new internet players. The objective is that the same platform is used by different parts. And it's very important for us, because we think that in order to reduce the cost, everybody's complaining that security has a cost. We think that if we're able to share the cost across industry, that will be a good value for all the industry. So this is why we are named Global Platform, because we really try to support any kind of I would say, market. I will just focus on a few ones, but typically this morning we talked about 5G. That it's a very important program in Russia. So typically all the SIM cards today are embedding Global Platform technology, because in 2000, when they were looking to a way to load application into the SIM card, they use a Global Platform technology. So with HC, we have long-term relationships in 2000, all the SIM cards embedding that. We are right now working on the next generation of SIM, which is an integrated SIM. With HC, they are using our technology. So we think that in the next 10 years, we will still continue to work a lot. We are working with GSMA. GSMA is deploying a technology to load the mobile profile into the SIM. So RSP, I don't know if you know this technology, but RSP. So RSP is based on global platform technology because the way to switch between two mobile operator is based on GP technology. We are managing the compliance program for GSMA on the SIM card, both for M2M and consumer. We have today some discussion about security evaluation of the product. We have a lot of discussion with GCF and PTCRB that are the ones that are validating the devices. And of course, they are doing plenty of things that we are not caring too much, but radio and extra, but related to the security, we have a strong collaboration and also how to integrate that. So just to highlight on that, I can have the same highlight on IoT. On IoT, we are working with IoT Connectivity Alliance, which is a very strong organization in China that try to clarify how the trust is created of any kind of IoT objects. We have the TAF below, TAF, which is a strong organization in China, regrouping all the smartphone ecosystem. They are defining all the rules to certified. So again, we are not talking about radio together, but we are talking about security and typically the TEE that Andre has introduced, because typically on most of the smartphones today, you have the possibility to have an isolated environment that we call TEE. Voilà, so a lot of relationship with the banking industry, whatever the European Payment Council, EMVCO. We are starting some discussion with IIC, very interesting. So one of our intent is that today IIC and Open Fog Consortium has merged. So we are waiting finalization to start because we are very, very, very well deployed in the edge. Our idea is to go to the fog and slowly by slowly to go to the cloud. So we have step-by-step approach, but really the technology that we are using are used also on many of the fog or gateway or things like that. So there is a strong value to do that. And again, to provide the basis of the security and not we are not about router and how to update router, but at least how to create the trust inside the router. This is something that we are focusing on. So I can say a lot of things. So this is, I went very quickly about the collaboration with Etsy. So you can skip this one. I think I said everything. First collaboration, hosting and OTA management. So global platform is really related about how to manage a global platform environment. We call that a secure component. How to share responsibility between actors. So typically in the SIM, you are able to create specific area for the bank and to adapt this environment for the bank rules or for the government rules, because in US, typically on the SIM, you are able to load governmental application. So everything which is related to loading, remotely, keys, application, this is really the DNA of the organization. Okay. And the last point is the collaboration about the integrated smart secure platform where they are using our technology. And I put here just the acronym VPP and OFL, sorry by that. But if you go to the Global Platform Public website, you will see what is behind that. OFL is a loader, how to load the code inside the integrated. And the VPP, it's the layer between the integrated hardware and the secure software. If you go to the next slide, again, I have talked about GSMA. So we have been working in 2005 to 2008 about contactless UICC, both in terms of helping them to have some discussion with EMVCO about certification, about the keys, about plenty of things. We have been collaborating on the IoT guidelines. You know that GSMA has published strong documents with assessment extra. They are all referring to global platform documents. And right now, the current collaboration with GSMA, it's about M2ME, UICC, and consumer eSIM. That, again, the technology is based on global platform. We are doing the compliance. And I hope that we will be able to find a way to collaborate on the security evaluation. Next slide. So how we try to help people to deploy secure digital services. Our idea is really to focus on three parts. First of all, the protection of the assets, both the code and the keys. So this is what we call protection of the digital services. Of course, right now, there is a lot of solutions and it's quite difficult. All the solutions are secure, right? but some are more secure than the other. So we expect by having a clear certification program to be able to train the market about this is good for that, this is good for this, and this is good for that, right? So our intent is not to go to the critical services because this is typically state decisions, but for all the consumer market to be able to drive the market to say that these products, it's protected against a certain level of attacks. This product is protected against certain level of attacks, and this product is protected against certain level of attacks. To have really a view on the stuff. So we have a lot of labs, a lot of collaboration with common criteria, with a lot of collaboration with national agency on this topic. I will be very, very quick on the last point because, again, this is a DNA, loading keys, loading application, sharing dynamically. This is the basis of the technology that you have today on the SIM, that you have on the TEE, and that we want to provide on other secure environments. Again, don't hesitate to interrupt me. I can talk 6 hours in a row, so when you will be tired, don't hesitate to. So in the next one, I will go more in detail about protection of digital services. So this is where maybe if you know Global Platform 2 or 3 years ago, you will see some new things. Global Platform was very focused on the SIM card, on the banking card, on the embedded secure element on your phone. But in the IoT, we recognize that we are talking to people that they don't even know how to use that. So we have decided to continue, of course, to invest on the secure component part. Maybe in the future to have other technology because the technology is evolving, but really to have a device view and how we can create trust inside the device, which to help the people to create trustworthy devices. So this is something new in parallel to the secure component evolution to work on the device level. So I will go very quickly on each and every part on the next slides. So yeah, secure component, again, Global Platform has been created in 1999 for secure element. So this is the technology for all the smart card industry. There is 5 billion of objects, so secure element, passport, SIM card, banking card that are produced every year. It's growing every year, of course, less and less, but it's still growing. So it's very well-known technology, plenty of evolution, answering plenty of markets. So this is a very, very active technology. And typically today, it's very easy to say that 100% of the secure elements are in smartphones are Global Platform. Because today, if you want to load a banking application, if you want to be able to manage government credential, extra, every people knows the Global Platform technology. So there is no brainer. Today, Global Platform in secure element is really well deployed, which is also, you know, in the Silicon world, production has a direct impact on cost. And this is also why a lot of people are now using the GP technology because it's super mature, super secure, and the cost is very, very low. From 10 cents to €2, you have products. So if you have a technology that is very, very secure at 10 cents, call me. But I'm not sure that there will be a lot, right? So in terms of hardware impact. And of course, we have this new technology, which is the TEE, which is an isolated environment inside the main SOC that allows to use the SOC that are in most of the connected devices. So you don't need to add a new die. You just need to be able to install. So this is very important to have a good secure boot isolation, but you are able to install an isolated environment that may control the device. This is also strong growth because there is a lot of devices that are using chips that are able to create this main hardware feature that we need, which is a secure boot and isolation. So today it's a low assumption that there is 10 billion of products that are able to support a TEE that are in the field right now. And typically this is why we are talking more and more about the fog computing or the gateway, because those guys are deploying massively this kind of products. So again, yes, please.
This trusted execution environment, it means like ARM processors at the factories. Just a couple of examples. Or is it mobile phones with a trusted environment? Or devices, or I don't know, IoT sensors, or some stupid processors doing simple jobs in the car. What kind of examples?
So Global Platform does not mandate a specific SOC infrastructure, but of course it's work with trust zone. Okay, what we expect from the chip, it's to be able to provide a secure boot and to provide isolation. And this is very difficult to organize that only by software. So we need some specific features that are defined on the security requirements. But typically MIPS products are able to do that. AMD is not using trust zone and they are able to do that. So there is other, and we try really to be very, very open in terms of architecture. We don't want to stiff the innovation. If something is better than trust zone, why not using that, right? So of course we verify that it's working with MIPS and with AMD and all the stuff. But the technology is really created to create this isolation, to have some standardized way to talk with isolation environment and to have a standardized way to load application. And this is dynamic. So of course, the primary version of that, people didn't have the need to download application, but we have published 2 years ago the way to download, how to create different environment with different actors. So from one to many, how to load, how to protect, everything now is ready and things are going well for that. So next one. So this is what you will find both on the SC and on the TE. First of all, root of trust. Okay, you need to have the primary keys. This is very important. We need to have the secure boot. You need to isolate all the application management. Again, I have talked about that, to be able to load application, to create different environment from multiple actors. Flexible security, this is also very important. When you're traveling all around the world, you understand that security sometimes touches to the business. And security means either the level of security, either the way that you manage the keys, either the crypto. Okay, so we try to be very independent from these 3 layers. And even on the same device, to be able to manage different crypto, different type of keys, different stuff, to allow banking industry to be loaded, the governmental industry, telco industry. So we are very flexible in terms of security, thanks to the feature that we have on the product, but also the view we are managing the security evaluation. Next one, yes. So this is a new proposal of Global Platform. We try to solve all the issue for people to deploy digital services, okay? And we understand that it's very good to have a SIM card as an example, but if the device is completely weak, nobody will be able to provide a good level of services. So we understand that before we were talking about very clever guys, now we are talking about people that are super, I would say, qualified about the plastic shape around the IoT device, the fun stuff and extra, but they don't care too much about the security. And we need to help them to create trustworthy devices. So the device trust architecture, it's really how to help the device manufacturer to create the chain of trust where the people deploying secure services will be able to hang. Okay. To do that, first of all, we need to have a hardware root of trust. This is very, very important to have a secure boot. And then after, our idea is to provide more and more secure services that will be standardized to help the device OS to be able to use secure functions. So typically, if you look today, if you are a device manufacturer, you may need to work with Amazon OS, with Oracle OS, with Google OS, with Alibaba OS. There is billions of OSs. And it's very difficult to have good security all around this stuff. So if you're talking with one provider, maybe you can have a good idea of how the security and the trust has been created. But if you have a service provider, you can have a deal with one guy because you don't know what the end user will use, right? So this is very important that each and every device have similar way to create the trust, that as soon as possible, or they are using a secure component that will be validated. And then you can rely on that to deploy your services. So the application layer is very important. But for the application layer to be very, we'll say, trustable, you need to have all this layer part. Something which is very important in this picture, it's the attestation mechanism. Because if you arrive from the top, you must very quickly to understand how the trust has been created. And today there is no real mechanism to help you to understand how the trust has been created on the connected device. So the attestation mechanism will be, I would say, the umbrella to understand, oh, I have a SIM, or I have a TEE, or I have a secure boot, or I have a trusted UI to allow a secure connection. And we want all together with the attestation to become really a framework. So all the devices may make some differences because of course, not all the devices will have all the kind of secure services, but at least very quickly you understand what kind of services are created. It will be more easy to certify and more easy to use the trust of the device. So this is a strong, I would say, initiative that we have launched to really help the market to have more and more trustworthy devices. Next one. So again, I'm talking with a lot of internet giants, and they have all the same stuff. They want to have the box with a speaker, right? So they made a super analysis to be able to issue the first version. And then after they try to have another supplier and they understand that they need to read you again all the analysis of security. So there is a more and more need to be able to have some market-oriented certification that helps those guys to say, okay, go to GP, get your stamp, and then after we will discuss, okay? And so this is slowly growing. We have a lot of discussion ongoing. I think we will make a lot of announcements. It's very critical in terms of investment for the organization to really have something which is very focused on the robustness of the product, okay? Because it's something that people understand. Are you able to react? You know, typically the lock on the door, you have some rules to say that how many minutes the bad guys need to use to crack your door. Something very understandable for me. Do I want to have a door which is cracked in 10 seconds, cracked in 2 minutes, or they need 3 days with plenty of tools? This is something really clear to understand. So this is something similar that we want to do to have a scale with different approaches that will be also super focused. Because typically today, yes, there is other way to do security evaluation. But I was thinking that, you know, the wearable, today the usage of the wearable for the end user is 3 months. After 3 months, you have played, you take a shower, you put the wearables for the shower, and you will never put again. So people are creating objects that will be used for 3 months, 6 months. If you ask those guys to have 1 year certification, it's completely crazy, right? So we really need to focus and to have something which is very adapted to this new object that potentially the time life will be low. I'm not saying that you cannot use this technology for objects that are higher, but I think we need to have something very oriented to the device. Yes. So you can skip this one. It's security. You will have the slide. So it's security. We are following ISO. We are the good guys. We are talking to plenty of organizations. I don't need to much to do that. So the last point on the overall picture is really the management and the updates. So here, all the market are requesting to change the key. All the market are requesting to change the application. All the market are requesting to update the stuff, right? So this is very a basic technology. We try to have all this possibility, whatever the network, typically from the SIM SMS on the SIM to TCP IP, HTTPS, etc. We have solution that fits completely with the new Apple Store, Google Store, Android Store, all the stores that are here, right? So the application is able to embed inside some secure script and to be able to populate the secure component. And of course, what we are focusing on is to end-to-end security. We never use the security of the network because you don't know what kind of network we will use, right? So the end-to-end security, this is the key part where we are focusing. and to be able to have synchronous or asynchronous deployment of application to be as flexible as possible. There is no value today to invest on the new platform. There is so many platforms that there is no value. But this is very important. Typically with Andre and Transform, yesterday we have discussed about how to deploy digital services. You need to have this basis to be able to do business, I would say, right? So we try to solve all the technical stuff. We don't care which people will use it, which kind of keys and extra, but we have all the technology to be able to deploy stuff. So yes, next one. So managing multiple markets. So the view we have is there is not one solution that fits all, okay? If you have an object that you want to sell at €5, or if you have an iPhone at 1,500 euros, you may invest more on this one, right? So there will be different technology. Today we have two technology. You can go to the next one, right? So what we try to say that not all the technology are identical. Some are providing more security, some are providing more features, some has value like this. We really try to be as clear as possible so people select the technologies they need, right? But we are not forcing people to use always SIEM or always secure element or always TG. So we try to have this kind of drawing that explain, okay, secure element is very secure, high protection, is tamper resistant, T is like this. Potentially, again, we will have new secure component in the future, and we will try to be very clear about what is the value of each of the technology. So this is one way. And again, on each of this environment, again, we are able to manage different business model. Requirement from banks, requirement for government that may be different in terms of crypto, in terms of parameters, etc. So this is one way to manage on the same platform different markets. And the next one. Another way to manage is that we try to have, in one hand, a technology that take all the input from all the markets. Okay. So typically on the secure element technology, we have stuff for the banking, we have stuff for the government. So the specification sometimes becomes very, very, very large, right? And in parallel, when you are focusing on market, we want to be able to address the market. So we have configuration. So typically a way to collaborate with the Russian environment, it's to say, okay, you are using the global platform specification and you are writing the Russian IoT secure element, whatever configuration. You are just referring, and it's very clear. And it's a way to work with us, okay? And this is a way that we are working typically with GSMA. On GSMA, we have what we call the UICC configuration, which is a guide to explain what are the GP services that you need to put on the SIM card, okay? We have this with the banking, we have financial configuration, this is the stuff. The value is that sometimes you are receiving an input from the banking environment. And finally, typically, I will use an example. I was working with the government for privacy 10 years ago because they were crazy about privacy and banks didn't care about privacy. Right now, because of the GDPR, all the banks say, oh, privacy, privacy. And I said, but wait, it's already here because the government asked us to do that. So this is a way to have a common ground and to have some market-oriented stuff. And sometimes from the market, this gives new features on the common ground. Okay, and we do the same with CE to be able to bring back from different expertise, from different markets, some new features that maybe will be a good new tool for some specific markets. So normally, Andre stopped me to say that, okay, now I will do the summary. So.
So, microphone.
I think the use cases. Did you flip through? So it's not there, right? It's not there. Maybe we just, I suggest we flip, to the Q&A because that would be easier to conduct further. Then we will be able, to focus more on the questions which really matter. And since we had the discussion during the TEBA forum, okay, you properly noticed that I was very much focused on the critical infra. Now I think that compensates, you know, for the critical infra on the TB forum, because that takes a broader look. Okay, now this is like security for the IoT. So I sort of, I'm trying to compensate, okay, for the deficiencies on the TB forum. So let's go for a Q&A and discussion.
Is there any difference between the usual SIM and embed SIM from the security point of view? What is easy to ensure security in such kind of SIMs?
So in one hand, there is typically, I will give you two examples. In terms of how to store the keys, or is this embedded or not embedded, there is no modification, right? So you need to bring and to have a secure component which is tamper resistant. You check that. So for the remote administration, there is no differences. What is different is that when you are an MNO, you are issuing SIM. If you have an issue, it's very easy to change the SIM, right? If you want to go from V1 to V2, you guys ask the guy, you will receive a new SIM. Here, the SIM is linked to the life cycle of the device. So typically, if you don't have good way to update the OS, you may have an issue, because typically you are sticking $2 object inside the device, and you will not be able to use the device because of this $2. And this is typically an impact, because this brings new use cases where potentially you have a risk. So again, trying to show two examples. It's too easy to say that I'm taking the SIM, I'm solving the SIM, and there is no differences. You must make some evolution on the object.
Do you know if any countries forbid your SIM, like Russia, maybe from the security point of view or any other point of view? What's your opinion? In many countries,
yes,
embedded SIMs
yes,
are forbidden from
yes,
the regulatory point. And why do you know? Do you know why? From a security point of view or any other reasons? Your opinion?
I don't know. I suppose that people have very different view about the SIM depending of the countries. So, I think there is no one SIM. There is potentially in the future different SIM. Typically, in China, the bike that you are able to rent on the city are all connected to NB-IoT. It's a little IoT device, a bike, right? And they accept that the SIM credentials are stored in TEE because there is no data. You know what is a bike. You know the flow of data is just I'm here, the guy pay an extra. So there will be no one SIM, there will be multiple SIM. And I suppose that this SIM is maybe less critical than a SIM that will be used in equipment that will manage a nuclear power point, right? That this one may be critical. Come on, this is very secure. No, that's why I'm doing extreme examples, right? So I don't think that there will be one unique SIM. So some governments say all the SIM can be used in all the environments. So all the SIM needs to be very, very secure. Not at all. When you have a Coca-Cola ATM machine and they are just sending one SMS to say, I have 10 cans, please send me. You will not crack the infrastructure of the mobile network operator by hacking the Coca-Cola stuff. So for me, there is no one SIM, and government are very different view. But it's not related to the embedded, it's related to the SIM. How, knowing that most and most objects will be connected to the GSM network going forward because of NB-IoT, because of 5G, because of plenty of things. I think in 5G, you will have a different possibility to offer different level of services thanks to the network slicing. So I suppose that on each network slicing, you may have different SIMs, from something which is very static to something which is very, very, very secure. Did I answer your question? Yes. Please.
Еще вопросы есть?
Можно по-русски, если проблемы, я переведу. Нет, у тебя нормально.
Do you collaborate with instant messaging application like WhatsApp, Viber, Facebook Messenger, yeah, Telegram? It's
not directly, in fact. In fact, we are below today those guys. Those guys are talking to the device OS, and we are talking with the device OS. But if they want to talk with me, I have no issue. Really, today they are more interested by the latest stuff on Android, the latest stuff on iOS to be able to have stuff. And but after again, this is what I was trying to do. They may not care about too much about the security and how they need security, but they are not very interested about the bits and bytes and the wire and the stuff that so we need to create that. We need to be very strong, secure, share, be an agreement to provide services to the device OS, and the device OS will provide the services into the applications. I think this is how we are currently working. So we have a good relationship with Android. Android is using typically some global platform technology. We have discussion with OS from Alibaba. We are discussing with a lot of device OS people that are the ones that are talking to the device, to the application provider.
Do you talk to Russian officials?
Since the last 2 days, yes.
Is it a secret?
No.
Not so far. So much, We had the discussion with the Minister of Industry and Trade. Reason for this is very simple. That if you want to implement the trust, we should do it on several levels. Okay. The root of trust is basically within the semiconductor space. So we are, in this sense, working with Elvis, Milander, Progress, Micron, and like. Okay, so that we implant this, whether this is secure element or TEE inside, the chip or whatever. Second big conversation is with device manufacturers, and this is to ensure that the device inherits the trust, from its core, from the trust kernel, from the root of trust. And the third one is discussion with operators and digital service providers in terms of how to deploy the services. Respectively, our conversation has started with the government and responsible for the semiconductor devices, so which is Ministry of Industry and Trade. Now, indeed, we will not stop there but the most important thing is that, when we go to the security regulator, and we are working on the subject, for quite a while, the logic of TEE or secure element itself is normal. Root of trust and things like this, everybody knows it, and they have already, the regulators have posted their comments, but their prime position is that you as industry need to agree on what works for you, right? And since this approach works for the rest of the world, I assume it will work for us as well, right? Especially since we want to get what we do harmonized with the rest of the world, since we want to go out into outer space, and our solutions would be compatible to those outside. So in this sense, our discussion with the government officials have started, and will continue.
And the reason why I asked, because
I know why
because the technical committee groups like TK-2026 and TK-164, TK-26, which is directly responsible for the encryption and the security, this is actually the place to work, around the standards. This is where the standards live. And TK-164, which is Utkin's Internet of Things technical committee, is also 194, sorry, And the only concern I always have is that some people will start inventing their own bike and their own standard, which will be proprietary and not compatible with the rest of the world. And this is the only concern I have, basically, when I talk about it.
Let me answer this one. Kit is our good friend, so we basically agreed that whatever standard we might be, if we decide as an industry that we would need a standard in this scenario, we can we use his committee as a default one, as a launch pad. He's ready. We just met with him 1 hour ago, 2 hours ago. The second is you mentioned the CAT26. This is about the cryptography. We have discussed this thing yesterday. It is absolutely not a problem to embrace the Russian cryptography, since Russian cryptography is now the part of ISO. So global platform accept this worldwide. So it's not a problem, right? The third one is the thing that we have just started is the 362, which is like a stack. Yeah, this is the toughest one for several reasons, because Stack has only started to develop the notion of trust overall. Trustworthiness. Yeah, trustworthiness and things like this. And this is something that we need to exploit. They overall, like they were very heavily focused on the software means. Now, this thing will not work without hardware means, because if we want a good instance of TEE, then this means literally hardware. This might be not politically correct, okay, but I prefer practical, right? Practically, without a proper hardware architectural isolation of this model, that is not defendable. Yeah, absolutely. So and talking overall security without having this platform story in place, is in my view useless, right? Because it's a glass floor. So if you have somebody's code inside the chip, your certified operating system, this is bollocks. Clear. And this is why we keep fighting for this one. And then if you have the implementation that is not protected, from the hardware means, or you have untrustworthy topology and things like this. So it's all in conclusion, they have done a big work on security. Now they need to do the job on the trust. And they have started with the trust levels, this order 131 and things like this. So there is a big job to be done. Then there is MILS, multiple independent levels of security, trustworthiness, and the like. So there should be a lot of job done on this one.
Maybe we can jump back to this model.
Which one? Mm-hmm. Верхний. Нет, это начало. Вот этот certification. Микрофон. У нас просто не все смогли прийти, поэтому записываем.
So sorry. Could you please answer for us, for the developer of IO devices, what the reason to certificate our components inside the your approach, inside your ideas and inside your global trust environment? Could you please answer? What we will have after that?
Again, the objective is that the device is really recognized as a trustworthy device by the service provider that want to download application on top of that, right? Or use that, and to integrate this device into a complete service deployment. So you need to show to the future people how much you've done a good job or not a good job, right? So the final stamp on the device may be done by a government, may be done by different stuff. Our idea that you will save a lot of times if typically you are buying, let's say, a car spare CT that has been stamped. Okay, so you go to the final regulator. Look, this is my device. I have a TE which is like that. The secure boot has been validated. This has been validated. I'm showing the global platform stamp, and I just need to verify this to go to this market. So our idea is really to give more and more evidence that what you put together is secure. This is really our way. It's more than audit. Typically on a TE, I need to have the source code of the secure boot. I need to look how you are doing stuff. So my point was to say that we understand that it's not because you have a very good TE that your device is secure. Okay, so, but we will want to help you to at least show that the TE is good. And then after, this is maybe a step towards another certification. This is why I'm working with the banking industry to say that what we are doing is good for Visa, for MasterCard, for that. I'm working with the GSMA to say that this is good for the SIM card. And I'm working now on this one to discuss with more and more government to say that if inside the device you have a TE which is stamped, certified with this, and we are explaining how we do that, right? Reading the source code, reading the isolation extra. This should help you. And typically we have a discussion with the Japanese government that are using the TEE as part of the IoT regulation to say, okay, if the IoT comes with a certification, that helps me to go to this kind of market. So they are aligning on this kind of service. TEE certification is good. On this kind of service, it's not enough. So really, we try to help. We'll not be able to solve all the issue, but we try to help because the SE, so the SIM card or the TE, this is good trust anchor for creating trustworthy devices, right? And this is our intent to very quickly allow Kaspersky to have a stamp, then Kaspersky sell the product to you, so you get another stamp, and slowly by composition to really drastically reduce, first of all, the time of evaluation, but also the cost.
In this case, when we'll try to join with within the solution with different providers, some developers of devices, it would be simple for us to prove our level of security. Yeah, but if we decided to make our maybe independent device, independent service, how this help us, this certification?
So again, in the perfect world, if you need to deploy a device, service into this device, you only need to develop a trusted application and to load the trusted application onto the certified core. Okay, so for you, your requirements to your provider, come to me with a TE which is certified. This brings you some kind of baseline of security. And on top of that, you will deploy your application. So this is typically like we are working with today the car connectivity consortium. They are looking about how to use a smartphone in connection with a car. We say that, guys, you will not be able to take each and every smartphone in the world to open it and extra. So request to have a certified secure element. And then on top of that, you can load the application that is managing the key of the car manufacturer.
Okay. I have probably the last question because it's about time. What's the deal with Industrial Internet Consortium? I know they have these tracks related to security. There are little security in every track, basically, they have. So what is what is ongoing deals.
So
I know they united with, they combined, and now it's two associations in one.
So if you ask me the status today, we are waiting that the merge is done.
It's done.
Because we were, it's not done.
It's approved by the board. It's presented.
They have done the first meeting last week.
Yes, I was there. So, yeah.
So we were very focused on the Open Forum Consortium and a little less with IIC. But definitely what we want to do, again, the platform should work with IIC requirements. So we will need to discuss with those guys to understand they have different stuff and to explain that, okay, for this one, you can use this technology for, oh, we have something which is missing because you are requesting some feature that we don't have and we will create. So we are very, very eager to understand what are those requirements and to, so typically this is Open Forum Consortium, right? But for the IIC and the fact that they talk about security, safety, and plenty of other stuff, we just want to understand and to verify how much we are able to answer to those questions. So it's very, again, I'm super excited to discuss because I'm talking too much with banks, too much with DSMA, so that's a new field, right, for me.
The relationships with IIC. I've been there almost 3 years. The role of IIC, so they position themselves so they are not standardization organization. That's why they are happy to establish any kind of licenseship relationships with any other SDOs. And this is their position at the moment. On the other hand, so IIC produce many useful use cases. They produce quite lots of frameworks and actually push the industry towards some very interesting directions like trustworthiness, for example. And to my knowledge, trustworthiness development in IIC is far more advanced than in IEC, for example, in ISO. So that there should be a backwards direction. So IIC will come up with some proposals for the global platform to think about standardization of these specific questions or elements. But the specific of IIC, this is all about industrial. So in many cases, it's just to absorb smart cars, smart cities, and stuff like that. But honestly, I do not believe a lot in this. They will just stick with industrial IoT. So everything would connect the production lines, the smart manufacturing, and smart energy, stuff like that. This will be well recognized in IEC for many years from now. And they will be looking for some help from the alliances they establish to help them and their partners and the members of IEC to consider a way how to make their solutions in a proper manner, meaning that IIC develops frameworks and architectures, and they just propose, okay, if you want to be in a good shape or you want to be reusable across the industry or your solution can be positioned well, so you can use our recommendations. They call it like use our frameworks. But they do not claim there is a certification process on it. So meaning that it is very good opportunity for collaboration between GlobalPlatform and IIC. So GlobalPlatform might consider to take over the standardization parts, and IIC can harmonize or just reuse or inherit the good experience from GlobalPlatform. This is my comment.
Amazon.
Спасибо большое.
Так, ну что, дописали.